A big thanks for joining me again for our June U3a podcast. It's lovely to have your company. Well, here we are, halfway through 2025. How did that happen? I do hope you've had a chance to enjoy some of the recent sunshine, wherever you are listening from, and doesn't it uplift the mood? This is Maggie West, and we have some real treats for you this month. First of all, you're going to hear from a group of very talented ladies who prove to us all that age will never be a barrier to making your dreams come true.
Music for me has been a lifesaver, really, and got me through some very difficult times in my life. It's one of the very few things that stimulates every area of your brain and triggers every sense. And that's what this is about.
Now something very different for our sports listeners. If cricket is your thing, and it is the middle of the season right now, we have an interview with a man who used to be a fast bowler for England, and he's now playing his part in shaping young talent for the future.
As a player, it is all about you and what you can contribute on the field. As a coach, it's about the player and how you can help them get to the best space possible.
Finally, we promised you in the last episode that we'd bring you a very moving story about a baby given away at birth and the happy ending that resulted. It's all derived from a book called The Shadow of the Teapot.
And a man came over with my mother in his arms as a baby and said, "Mrs. Williams, could you help?" He said, "My wife has died giving birth to this baby." He wasn't very polite.
No.
He said, "Can you take her in until after the funeral, until I know what I'm doing?" So Mum Williams said, "Yes, of course." She said, "I'm feeding one new baby. I might as well feed two." So she ended up with 6 daughters.
So as always, please stay with me for the next 30 minutes. You're in for a treat. Today, we meet a dynamic group of musicians whose passion, talent, and sheer joy in performing are lighting up venues across the Northwest. Formed in 2017, the Silhouettes are no ordinary band. They're a lively ensemble of u3a members who bring the sounds of the 60s to life with authentic arrangements, vibrant energy, and a message that age is no barrier to creativity. You'll hear from Angela. She's the musical force behind the band and 3 times winner of Opportunity Knocks on TV. She's joined by Carol, their lead vocalist, who's worked with the likes of Tim Rice and Andrew Lloyd Webber. And also, you will be joined by Bev, who plays the electric viola and is the marketing guru. They're keen to share the story of how the Silhouettes came to be and why the music means so much, as they told our reporter, Maggie D.
Hi, my name's Angela. My role is I am the person who chooses the music, most of it, arranges it and performs it on the keyboard.
So I'm Bev. I play the electric viola in the Silhouette band, and I'm also responsible, along with another colleague, for making opportunities happen and getting us interesting venues to play at.
Well, I'm Carol Beardmore. I'm the lead vocalist, female vocalist in the Silhouette band, and have been since it started. I'm also sort of like the front person, so I'm the one that helps to entertain the crowd and make sure everybody's having a good time, including the band.
The band was formed basically in 2017.
There's actually 9 of us in the band, aren't there?
But I had a desire to create a 60s band with a difference. Having learned how to orchestrate when I was at university, I wanted to create not a band with a sound, but a band where each song had its own individual sound, and that these sounds were authentically reproducing the original orchestration on the record. So this meant that we really had to augment the band to make it happen. I picked most of them based on the fact that I was at that particular age in the 60s when I was really in tune with what was going on. I tried to put quite a lot of variety in, so they're not all sweetie songs.
So we play things like Frankie Valli, Elvis, Cliff, the Turtles, Dusty
Rolling
Springfields,
Stones, Still Black.
Stones.
We do actually one or two out the 70s.
Wide range of what we can perform.
You know, give me a song and I can sing anything, really. My signature tune is Cilla Black's You're My World.
What is the average age of the group?
I'm the great-great-great-grandma. I'm 78. I'll be in my 80s next year. So,
and I think the youngest in the band is in her
60.
60s.
She just turned 60.
Yes.
I'm 65. I'm sort of like middle ground. Age is irrelevant. I think that's what we're saying.
Oh, it is. In a band like this, age is irrelevant. You are never too old.
No.
You know, our ethos is that retirement is not an option. It is not not part of our language at all. When we go out on that stage and you see people of our age group, and some of them are a lot younger, but some of them are a lot older, in the 80s, 90s, and you see the joy of the face as they light up, and they think, you're really touching people.
Music for me has been a lifesaver, really, and got me through some very difficult times in my life. It's one of the very few things that stimulates every area of your brain and triggers every sense. And that's what this is about.
Bev, can I ask you, which of you keeps the band's spirits up, or is it just all of you?
You know, everybody in the band is an upbeat personality. We absolutely support each other in different ways. There's not one person, I think, who does it. We're all doing it for each other. We
rehearse every week with some members of the band. We can't always make it, but we always have a rehearsal, and it can stretch from 2 to up to 8 or 9 people. When there's a show coming up, we put a big afternoon or day rehearsal in. So that usually takes over about 5 hours.
And then there's the hours of writing that Angela does to arrange the piece.
I have to write the music, so when we've decided what we're going to do, I have to just sit down with my computer, my keyboard, and start arranging. And the average one would take me about 4 days, and that would be about 8 hours a day to come up with something worthwhile.
We play in varying venues. Some of them are quite incredible. For example, our next gig is actually in the town hall in Rochdale, on that wonderful stage with.
That's the Mayor's Charity Ball.
That's the Mayor's Charity Ball.
Yes.
And then other times we'll play in social clubs. Wherever we're asked to play, really, we'll play. Sometimes just in small village halls. We've done quite a lot of u3a events in church halls. We have a Facebook page. Most of it is word of mouth. And what happens is people come along to a gig, they enjoy it, they ask us when the next one's happening, and then we put them on the database and we just let them know.
What's the title of your Facebook page?
Silhouette Band.
Our website is
www.silhouetteband.co.uk. Well, we've got a good website, though.
Well, the website's great.
You can see us perform on there.
You can see our videos.
You can hear us perform.
Yeah.
You can hear all about each one of us individually, what we do, everything about us.
Go to the website and get in touch with us. Drop us an email.
Sure.
Now, what's the ratio of fun to slog?
Well, Angela and I were talking about this, and I thought it's about 75% fun and 25% slog. But the slog is also very enjoyable. But the enjoyment we get from our Wednesday rehearsals is just so immense. That's how we became aligned to the u3a, because quite a few of the band are u3a members. But when I joined, felt there was such a huge alignment between the ethos of our band and the ethos of the u3a, because we're here to maximize our time in retirement and mixing with like-minded people, working together on a challenge. It makes us feel young. It makes us feel alive. We are so engaged with what we do with the band. I'm a classical musician. I play in the Salford Symphony Orchestra along with Bronwyn, the violin player. So I've moved into 60s from classical. Carol?
I've got about 30 plus years of music.
Most of the members of the band come from a professional music background?
No.
What about yourself, Angela?
Well, my first experience of being in a band or a group was in 1965. Eventually, I went to university and studied music.
Well, Rod is my husband, and he is not at all similar to the rest of us. It's certainly an adventure, Maggie, and we are making the adventure happen. Where would we like to be going forward? We want to keep on doing what we do, basically, Maggie.
That was the Silhouettes, a band that proves music, friendship, and purpose don't have an expiry date. If you'd like to know more, perhaps book a performance for your local u3a group, then visit www.silhouetteband.co.uk, or you can find them on Facebook. Thanks to Maggie D for bringing us such an upbeat story, and to the founding members of the Silhouettes. Now, in this episode, we're going to meet someone called Chris Silverwood. He was once a fast bowler for England and later head coach of the national team. And then he went off to Sri Lanka for 2 whirlwind years, coaching their side. Now he's back where it all began, at Essex, and he's now director of cricket. He shares his journey from a Yorkshire cricketer to an international coach, including his time in Sri Lanka, with warmth and honesty. Chris talks to our reporter, Martin Levin, about what it takes to inspire young talent, why coaching is about people, not power, and how cricket continues to test both mind and body.
You're 75. Right. It says here, the Hayes close there. Isn't that wonderful? Chris Silverwood is the name, isn't it?
It is.
Is it? And you're a Yorkshireman.
I am a York.
But you're proud of it, aren't you?
I've not lived there for a long, long time now. I've been down south since 2006 when I moved from Yorkshire to Middlesex, bought a place down here, and I've never been back since, to be honest. So I'm an adopted southerner now.
Oh, really?
All my kids are born down here. So.
Oh, that's more like it. Yeah. But you don't remember Fiery Fred then, growing up?
I do remember Fiery. He was a friend of mine. Bless him. So, yeah, I had a few interactions with him, a few very good conversations with him. Some that went late into the night. But yeah, great character.
And you met Dickie Bird as well recently. Recently, was it?
I've not seen Dickie for a couple of years now, but obviously my time at Yorkshire, he was still umpiring when I first started. So knew him from there. And then through his Dickie Bird Foundation charity that he opened, I did quite a few things for him there. Helping him at charity events and various other things. And Dickie's, has been a friend for a long time.
Let me ask you about Sri Lanka and the people that you met out there, because we live in a relatively wealthy area, society, England, well developed. Sri Lanka in comparison?
I mean, my first impressions of the people out there was great. Whether they were haves or have-nots, if they could help you, they would. I had many great conversations with the guy driving the tuk-tuk about cricket. They are fanatical about cricket. Which was great. And they would just stop and have a chat. If I was wandering around, they would come over and coach, how you doing? How's the team? If there's anybody injured, they'd be asking now that. But I found the place absolutely fantastic. And for me to go out there and to immerse myself in a different culture, learn that there's many different ways of doing things. And as I've spoken earlier, that you don't always need structure in your life. What you do is you have to find a way. So for me, it was a very solution-based environment where to find ways of doing things. Things that we would take for granted here. So yeah, for me, education, it was great. But I met some really good people as well, some really kind people.
That's great, yeah. But then besides coaching Essex, you've left Essex and then went on to England.
Yep.
It must have been proud.
Very proud. I mean, again, as a player, you grow up dreaming of playing for England. I did anyway. And I was lucky enough to fulfill that dream. And then I was lucky enough to fulfill that as a coach as well. I am ambitious in whatever I do if I want to be good at it. And I think, obviously, the England time, I had some great times. COVID hits, made life very difficult. But if you look around the country, I think a lot of people found COVID hard. It weren't just us sort of locked in the bubbles trying to play cricket. But equally, I have to respect that actually it was tough on the players at times. And equally, it was tough on my coaching staff and myself at times as well.
What's the secret of being a coach? Of a successful coach, then?
I think you've got to remember it's not about you anymore. As a player, it is all about you and what you can contribute on the field. As a coach, it's about the player and how you can help them get to the best space possible to go out there and win and enjoy themselves. And equally, finding ways of helping them fulfill their dreams. I spend time in the indoor school with the age group kids, and I see the same fire in their eyes as I remember having in mine at that age of, I want to play for England. These guys, they want to play for Essex and be successful there and then go on and play for England. It's our job to try and help them do that as well.
That's what I was looking for. That was going to be the next question. What do you look for? And you said in their eyes.
Yeah, there's a desire. There's a willingness to work hard. There's that motivation to push a little bit further than maybe some would. And you see that in them in there, whether it comes to skills training or when they're doing the fitness testing. I watched the fitness testing for one of the age groups on, when was it now? Monday night. I watched that. And you can see them, they push each other hard. And there's a lot of desire. Firstly, obviously, to play for Essex. And then to go on, I'm sure they've got ambitions and dreams of going further up the ladder if they can. But, for me, watching these kids fulfill their dreams is part of the beauty of what we do.
Well, the youngsters as well. What's the shelf life of an active cricketer?
Well, it seems to be getting longer. Obviously, Tommy kept being called the granddad in the discussion we've just had, which is not.
I kept quiet at that.
I'm not going to say anything because I'm much older than him as well. But no, you look at Jimmy now. Jimmy Anderson is, a poignant case where he's 40 years old and he's still going.
Yeah.
So I think, your shelf life is as long as you want it to be, really. If you wanted to be hard working, if you wanted to do the training, keep yourself fit. And a lot, it becomes hard work as you get older to stay in shape to actually compete with these younger people coming through that, getting stronger, faster and fitter. And if you've still got the skills, the ambition and the drive to do it, I think people choose their own shelf lives to do it.
Well, I tell you, when I realised that I was past it, was when my granddaughter beat me at running.
I knew I was past it when I couldn't get out of bed and walk without it hurting too much. It's probably time for me to quit and do something else. But you do listen, you know when it's time. I've had players said to me, how do you know when it's time to retire?
Yeah.
And you start asking a question.
Exactly.
That's when you start thinking about it.
Yeah.
And I think it is, but again, it's, if the individual is fit, strong, healthy and willing, then they choose their own chance.
When was the last time you played a game of cricket?
Competitively?
Yes.
I actually played twice last year for Safton Walden alongside my children.
Yeah. And what happened? Tell me.
It hurt a lot. So the next day it was like rigor mortis had set. But I always said I wouldn't play again until I was old enough, until my children was old enough and I could play alongside them. Last year I was lucky enough that they were, so I was 16 and 30. So they could play adults cricket, so it was great to play alongside them and watch their journey and where they're going and what have you say.
Then you realised, job done.
Well, it's not. No, it's literally. It's not. You've got to keep pushing and keep helping them. And that's one of my children are both involved down here at Essex as well. And seeing that desire in their eyes is great. Often out and get home and, Dad, can you just come and hit some catches? Or Dad, can you come and throw it? Can you just come and have a look at my run up for me? Or wherever it may be. And that's it. The brilliant thing is they're committed to that, and I love that, to be honest. So more.
I want to ask you, because last summer we had tickets for the 5th day of the Lord's Test, which was the one where the Aussies wound people up and they ran out. Well, was it Johnny Bairstow? Yeah. That was quite an activity day for all of that. Where were you?
I can't remember where I was. I remember.
Were you listening to the commentary at the time?
I remember seeing it on the obviously on the social media when it came up. And I watched it back.
That's not live though, is it?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, to actually see something like that being booed off at 10-1, going in for an early lunch.
Yeah, it's not for me to come in on that.
But that was one of the activities that you go around there and see an actual Test match. And Test match is so different to county cricket.
It's a Test match. It's 10. It's not just the 5 days that you're out there, it's the preparation days going into it as well. And they're mentally and physically draining. You could be out there for 5 days, and if a wicket's a flat one, you're working hard for 5 days in the field, and obviously with the bat, you have to bat long periods of time. They call it a test for a reason, because it is a test. It's a test of your mental strength, and it's a test of, obviously, your physical fitness as well.
Thank you. Never thought that tests have so many different interpretations.
It has.
Chris, pleasure. Thank you very much indeed.
My pleasure.
Now, the sound of willow on leather might not appeal to everyone, but to discover how different a life and a career can evolve is an eye-opener. thanks to Martin Levin, who, as a keen cricket fan himself, seemed like he really enjoyed that interview with Chris Silverwood. Thoughtful, passionate, and full of insight. Now let's have a look at something very different. Let's share some of the story contained in the book, The Shadow of the Teapot. It's a moving recollection from a woman who was given away at birth as a baby and brought up by someone she called Mum. It's a story of love, loss, and quiet strength, told with real warmth and honesty. We think you'll find it both powerful and unforgettable. Bob Wells spoke to the author and member of Reigate and Redhill u3a, Maggie Sharp.
So I've read the synopsis of the book. It's a very, very interesting story. I haven't read the whole book, but I have seen some of the reviews, and they're very, very glowing. People talking about it being a very moving story, very well written, very powerful, full of love.
Yeah.
And against obviously a sad backdrop. Could you just tell us, please, what inspired you to write the book, and just give listeners a brief sort of overview of what your life circumstances were at the time, please?
Well, I just thought that it was an unusual story. I grew up thinking that it would have been so much easier if I was able to say my parents had died. But knowing that they were less than a mile away as the crow flies, it was really difficult. And I'm not sure at the age of 78 that I've ever understood what happened and why it happened.
Yeah.
I don't think the three of us ever got any answers.
And the other two were your siblings, were they?
The other two are my sisters.
Yeah.
They have blocked this out completely.
Mum Williams was this very kind lady who, as I understand it, she brought in children who needed a home. But she had a bit of a nickname of the witch. Is that right?
Well, it was just at school that she had the nickname of the witch because she never cut her hair. She had long grey hair, and virtually we never saw her hair down. But I think one day when I was going to school, some of my friends came to meet me, and Mum was standing at the gate with her hair down. And I remember one of my friends saying, "Ooh, your Nana," and I'd say, "My mum, she looks like a witch." And I think that's what happened. I think that they spread it at school. "Oh, Margaret O'Callaghan's, Nan looks like a witch."
Yeah.
I think that was it.
Children can be very unkind at times, can't they?
They can, and they see things differently to how we see them.
What do you remember of Mum Williams?
Oh, everything. It was like she died when I was 27, and if ever I could say the rug was pulled from my world, that's the nearest thing that I can say. I really grieved her. I couldn't talk about her name for 5 years. And I was 27. I had my daughter. My daughter was 4. She'd had quite a few strokes. She was an old lady. I mean, she was born 1889. She had 5 daughters. Where my school was built, before there were little cottages, and an Irish family lived in the cottages. And because Mum Williams was in business and well known in the area, there was a knock at the door, and a man came over with my mother in his arms as a baby and said, "Mrs. Williams, could you help?" He said, "My wife has died giving birth to this baby." He wasn't very polite.
No.
He said, "Can you take her in until after the funeral, until I know what I'm doing?" So Mum Williams said, "Yes, of course." She said, "I'm feeding one new baby. I might as well feed 2. So she ended up with 6 daughters.
And she had a business as well to run.
Yeah, they had a business. They had a coal business. Yes,
Wow.
yes.
Wow.
And she took my mum in.
Yes.
And when he came back after the funeral, she said, "Now, hang on a minute. What are you going to do with the children?" And he said, "Well, this one, as far as I'm concerned, can go in the river. and the others, well, the other one, I'll sort them out. We knew that my mother had a sister Winifred, which she never found. She never ever found. So my nan, Mum Williams, took my mother Flora in and brought her up as one of her own daughters.
Basically, Mum Williams brought up your mother and yourself.
Yes. I called it the shadow of the teapot. Well, Hilda was the less educated of the family. They weren't well educated. Auntie Ivy was very good at bookkeeping. She had a head on her for figures, but the others worked in a factory, and Hilda was learning to be a florist, and she was also their cleaner. But at home, Hilda was a drudge. Everybody shouted at Hilda to do this, do that, and she'd do it, and she'd cry, and she's really funny. Anyway, she got herself a boyfriend called Cyril, but he was really hated by the family, and Mum Williams wouldn't allow him in the house. So she said to Hilda, well, look, he can come into the cellar. So they started sort of doing up the cellar as their little courting place. They got a stove down there to keep warm, and they got a couple of armchairs. But she'd have to come up the wooden stairs into the living room to make a cup of tea. And we were all watching this 9-inch television. That my nan would be under the blanket next to the fireplace. I'd be next to her, cuddling her, and then the little ones would be next to me. So we were all under the blanket watching this television. And she'd come up the stairs, and you would see the shadow of the teapot going across the television screen. And she always used to, if I had my feet down, she'd always used to trip over my feet. She'd go, oh, Margaret, oh, Mum. And then Kath, who really hated Hilda, she'd start, and there'd always be an argument. Sometimes Kath would hear her coming up the stairs, and she'd go, Mum. And Mum Williams say, what, Kath? That's Hilda. Hilda's coming up again. Oh, another cup of tea. Yeah, so she'd go out to the kitchen, and Kath would shout at her, and Hilda would start crying, and she'd come and say, Mum, she's starting on me again. And Kath said, oh, you bear's breast, what you get out there, get out. And it was all like that. It was all arguments, but it was funny to us. It wasn't, there was no violence, there was no, nothing like that.
It sounds like there was a lot of love and kindness in that house.
A load of love. They all got together to buy us what we needed. On a Friday was amazing. Yeah. Friday, everybody went to Mum Williams, apart from my mum and dad.
Our thanks to Bob Wells for bringing us this story, and to our guest, Maggie Sharp, for sharing such a heartfelt and personal journey with us. Of course, it's only an extract of the many stories in the book, so you may be prompted to learn more from Maggie's book, The Shadow of the Teapot. Well, what a whirlwind that was. A mixed bag, as always, and I hope you found it was well worth your while tuning in. Lots there to plant more learning seeds within our u3a community and to inspire us all. Now, many of our regular listeners will know that we usually take a break in July and August. Well, this year we've decided to do something different. We plan to delve into our past episodes to bring you some cracking backstories. Please do take a listen and join me again for both months. It will be well worth your while. Thanks to our guests for sharing their stories with us, and to our reporters, Maggie D, Martin Levin and Bob Wells, who has still managed to perform the other key role as our editor and producer. So for now, I really appreciate your company during this episode. Just promise me you'll come back for some more. This is Maggie West signing off. I'm really looking forward to our mystery tour in July and August, so do please come and join me.